All right, hey guys, welcome to Smart Trades Stock Talk. Today is Sunday, September 9th, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but we are already in September and we're like heading towards the end of the year. So the end of the year is actually rapidly approaching. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the time, enjoying the weekend, and as we move into the holidays, hopefully you guys get to spend some time with your family or yourselves, which is perfectly normal. All right, let's take a look at the S&P 500. We're looking at SPY on the intraday chart. Now, before we get started, I did get a lot of questions and in regards to the course and a website for the course. So the website, so since I just launched the course like a week ago, the website, it's under development. It's gonna be a little while, before we roll that out. So just be a little patient. I know you guys are watching for that website, but be sure to check out the course link in the description box below. All right, let's take a look at the S&P 500, looking at general market movement. I was showing you the intraday chart just to actually give you guys an idea of where the support line was, and you guys can see that we were teeter-tottering between the support line, which is situated at 287.58. If I just zoom out to the bigger picture right now and look at the yearly chart, you guys can see that right now we are pretty much right at the 20 period moving average. And the thing about this is we could reverse here. We could. And I'm watching several markets right now, and we're rather in a precarious position because the markets love to situate, especially at the end of the week, you guys can imagine, it loves to situate right at a possible support line. And then next week we'll tell the story in which direction we will go. So in this case, you guys can see that the support line here is at 285.64. That is the next support line. It doesn't have to get to the support. If it does, that could be that buying area. But right now, we just don't see any sort of reversal right now, nor do we see any signs of, you guys can see that we're still getting rejected off of the 20 period moving average on the 180-day chart. So there's really no sign of reversal, and this looks like to me a continuation move to the downside. Remember on Thursday night I talked about the more bearish scenario because I was giving you guys a more bearish outlook right now. Now, if we do see that more definitive reversal on Monday, then we will switch our tone once again. But you guys can see that, we talked about a more bearish tone on Thursday night, and then on Friday, what happened? Usually Friday are up days, right? But instead, we continue to fall. You guys can see that the Dow went down yet another 80 points. And what was the reason by the news? Did you guys see the news? Oh, it's trade tensions again. I can predict these things in which if the stock market falls, what's the, catalyst? It's Turkey, it's emerging markets, or it's tariffs, right? Those three things. I mean, I can make up the news as we go. So really, I don't really rely on the news for any of my trades. So here we go. That's the S&P 500 for you guys. Let's take a look at volatility really quick. And I need to actually pull up. I need to pull up a lot of your tickers to watch, tickers that you guys called out. So guys, of course, if you guys want to submit tickers and for me to take a look at, be sure to submit it in the comment section below, because I do take a look at it. So if you submit it Sunday, I try to take a look at it on Monday. If you submit it that day, I try to take a look at it the next day. So comment in the description box down below if you want me to take a look at it. All right, let's take a look at volatility, and I'm showing you guys the 180-day chart because you guys can see volatility, continues to be on an uptrend. We talked about it actually on Thursday. And guys, I kind of reference back to the previous days, right? Just because to show you guys, what my, at the very least, what my, thoughts are for the next day. And you guys can see, that I talked about volatility right here, right? At the end of the day on Thursday. And I said that, well, you guys can just reference the previous video, but I said that there could be that this looks like a move towards the upside, right? This looks like it is ready to continue on higher. So I'm giving you guys the perspective in which it's the end of the day, and the next day it gaps higher, and we did push higher, but we ended up pretty much making a neutral candle. So you guys can see that once you guys, enroll in the course and take the course as well, you will be able to identify it, not necessarily end of the day, but also during the day, right? During the trading day, you should find your good entry points and exit points, and that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do to help everyone out. So you guys can see that I take a look at end of the day for you guys during Stock Talk, and we did go higher. So where is the probable direction in which volatility can go? I wouldn't be surprised if we retest the 20-period moving average. That's perfectly normal, but more concerned about where general markets are doing. So I'm looking at the Dow, I'm looking at the NASDAQ, I'm looking at the S&P 500. So all right. So volatility, that's that. All right, let's take a look at a couple more tickers. So /CL, looking at crude oil futures. Now crude oil presents a more interesting scenario, and this is rather interesting because right now you guys can see that we should have a support, and the support is at 66.10. So what is this pattern that we're looking at right now? Well, you guys can see that we have a support here. We formed a pretty nice reversal candle. We didn't really hit the 66.10 level, but we did, you guys can see, hit the support and formed a possible reversal candle to the upside. So on Thursday night, I talked about how crude oil is really kind of difficult to trade. And the reason is, you guys can imagine, this is a long tail candle. And if you thought this was going to go down, you would have done what? Well, you would have gone into inverse crude oil, and you would have shorted crude oil, right? If you shorted crude oil, it managed to pull it higher, you would have been losing money. So it's a hard pattern to trade. Even though we saw 3 red candles, in a row, it's a hard pattern to trade because we're nearing the middle of the trajectory. When we got rejected the resistance, sure, we could have come on down, but at what point would it start reversing? That is a hard one for any trader to really guess and trade upon, because you could be wrong at those times. And that's just my opinion, but you guys can see that right now there could be that reversal back to the upside. Could be, doesn't have to. And crude oil could, I'm looking for a close over $70.29. Whether that occurs next week, we'll take a look. We'll see. So that's crude oil for you guys. All right. Natural gas. So natural gas, right? This story hasn't changed for the past few days, and I think a lot of you guys in the course also asked me about natural gas and where natural gas could go into. Yeah, that's a very good question. So here's natural gas. You can see the support level at 2.745, and we're steadily going down, right? Are we at the support yet? No. Is there a little more potential for natural gas to fall? Yes, there is some more potential, but just be cautious that as we're nearing down to the bottom, just look at previous patterns, we could have some choppiness near the bottom. So, this might not be a smooth dive down. This might be a choppiness now, dive back down, right? So, just keep that in mind if you guys are in DGAZ or shorting natural gas. So I talked about the ticker to watch in the past few days had it been DGAZ. So you guys can see that DGAZ has been on an uptrend. Short-term resistance at 25.67. You guys can see that we're selling off just a little bit during the day, but we still ended up in the positive for the most part on Friday. So that's natural gas. /GC, looking at gold futures. So gold futures, I really talked about this trend, and I hear a lot of people talking about how I'm trading gold is going to go higher, and that's really a question mark, right? Like, how do you know, at least based off of technicals, how do you know that gold is going to go off higher? And that's, it might go higher. I think there's a 50% shot that it'll go higher, but this is a very hard, difficult pattern to trade against again, because you guys can imagine, here's gold pretty much situated right near the resistance. Usually that is what kind of move? Well, that is a move in which we would push higher. I agree in the short term, but the long term, look at this massive trajectory to the downside, and you have to ask yourself, well, in the long term, shouldn't this push lower? And I could argue that way too. So right now, you guys can see we're still getting rejected the resistance, and I want to take you guys to JNUG, which follows gold, and this is a relatively hard pattern to trade. Once again, you guys can see that intraday, it closed at an all-time low of $6.82, right? Gold. But we still went up. So you guys can imagine, okay, One, we formed a low, a yearly low of 682, and two, we pushed higher and ended up higher during the day. What kind of pattern is that? Well, that's a pattern that's hard to trade, as you guys can imagine. Those are two differing thoughts. One is a low, one is a positive. That's hard. That's difficult. And that's just how traders, that's how, you know, this really tricks people. All right. So here's gold right now. And let's take a look at a couple of your tickers. The first ticker, I think, let me see, is BRZU. So thank you for that. So Untitled BRZU. So here is right here, right, Brazilian. So you guys can see that we have a semi-support line at 1632, but you guys can see we broke under, but we popped over. So with this trend, you know, what I'm looking at, actually, let me take a look. Let me take a look on the long-term end. Is you know, we're a little bit overextended over the moving averages, right? Or we're oversold, and therefore we could do what? We could certainly, you know, start bouncing higher, perhaps testing the 20-period moving average as we did here, and then come on down. So just note that if you did play this pattern, if you were in it at the time when you were talking about it, you know, you would have gotten probably 3.9% on Friday, but there's a little, you know, 5 to 10% more should it start bouncing higher. And this is a harder pattern to trade once again. However, you know, you guys can see that, you know, this area of vicinity has been acting as a support. So I think overall that's a very good observation that you've made. All right, YANG Yang. So this is the China ETF. Yeah, so this one is also doing better right now, and you guys can see, look at the yearly chart. The one thing, you know, you want to be cautious about is, you know, you guys can see that it's been rather choppy and the volume is rather low as well. So just be careful. This is edging on less than 100,000 shares being traded during the day, and here's the pretty much the resistance. We're nearing the resistance area. So you know, this is choppiness up, choppiness. The best time to buy, in my opinion, has to be around this area, right? $53 to $55, if possible. If you can get 53 to 57, if possible, you can get into that price. But we are nearing the upper end, so just be a little careful. All right, thanks for your tickers. All right, let's take a look at your YouTube tickers. So long on SD. Thank you for your hard work as usual. You're welcome. Can you please take a look at CLX for me? So yeah, thanks for your submission, long. CLX. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so overall, not a bad pattern. I can see this pattern, you know, playing out continuously to the upside right now. But the one thing you guys can imagine is, you know, at the very least, we need some consolidation, right? We need at least a day of consolidation or a week of consolidation before we push on higher. So right now, we did make that push. Can it push higher? Sure it can. It can certainly push higher. It's just, you guys can see we're nearing the upper end. You guys know what I think when we're nearing the upper end. We need some consolidation over the 20-period moving average. So while this is a good trend, I like it. Very nice. I would just wait and see how this plays out. At least give it a few days. Yeah, can I take a look at Spotify in the next weekend video? Interesting. Ooh, Spotify. So this is one that I wasn't tracking. This was one that I was not tracking. I did not know Spotify dipped this much. This is only a 10% drop section. It looks like a lot on the graph, but this is only 10%. It's not that much. Okay. Yeah, so I think Spotify overall, it looks pretty good. So you might be asking, well, why does it look good, Kevin? Isn't it going down? So right now, you guys can see Spotify has found a base support at around this area, which is, you know, perfectly normal. I think this is a 173.19. This is a good area. So right now, I like it. Spotify has the potential to reverse right here. And you're pretty much getting yourself at a good discount if you got in right now. Can it go lower? Sure, it can go lower, but this is Spotify, and I expect this one to push higher at some point. So, you know, while I wouldn't put 100% of my account into Spotify, this is a good trend to look at. Great job, Will. Thank you for your call out. Good dog. Good stuff. Okay. Evan, can you please comment on EDC? So we'll take a look at EDC. So EDC is emerging markets, and the one thing you guys want to be looking at is it's been pretty much getting rejected at the 50 period movement. Can you see that? Rejection of the 50 period, rejection of the 50 period, gap down, and then now we're pretty much at the base low. So, you know, this is one in which it's been steadily declining. Are we overextended? Sure, we are overextended, but the thing is, you know, you guys can imagine when we're overextended, what happened? We can continuously be overextended until we see some sort of sign of reversal, a more definitive sign. And right now, what I'm seeing is a sharp decline back down, back to the downside. So this is not something I would be looking at right now. So just be a little careful. I know I talked about BRZU earlier, in which I kind of pointed to an opposite direction, but this one is, oof, yikes. Okay, thanks for your call out, though. That's an interesting one to look at. Chris, revisit GOOS, felt like and consolidated. What are your thoughts? I see. Yeah, so for GOOS, overall, I like this trend. The question is, you know, are we going to jump the gun in terms of going long onto GOOS? And the answer, in my opinion, is I hope not. So you guys can see that the support area that we found earlier was 50.74. Where are we right now? We're nearing the middle of that support area. Can we reverse? We can, but we can see on Friday we still got rejected at the 20 period moving average. And, you know, this one can still go on down. Here's the support 50.80. We can even argue that this is a what? We can continue on lower, and this is forming a bull flag trajectory. Can you guys see that? So where's the best time to enter? In my opinion, the best time to enter could be around 48.12, and that's the best time I would be looking at. So I would wait for, if it reverses here, you know, that's perfectly fine. I want to see what happens once we hit the resistance area once again, but certainly not the best time, in my opinion. I would just wait a little bit. Chris, thank you for your call out. Good solid stock, I think. Good job on that. Dawei, I like box itself, but as the whole market hasn't shown a reversal for bullish, that is correct. Should I be more cautious at long box as well? So Dawei, good observation once again, and I actually replied to your comment on YouTube in which I told you, you know, I am in box, and I've been in box since the support area. Once again, I draw in these lines way ahead of time, so I know where my support areas are. And so this is a bull flag trajectory. Right now, box is at this area, 24.53. It's, you know, whether an entry, that's a question for you to answer. I think the best entry would be near 23 and change at that price point. But I agree. If the markets are not faring that well, you know, box could go higher, but generally it might not push. You know, it will not push to the resistance. It will not push the resistance if the markets are going lower, unless there's some sort of catalyst with this company. So I think this is a very good trend once again. So far, a lot of you guys have been making great call outs. So keep that coming. And good job. I can see that, you know, a lot of you are longtime viewers on my channel, and I see a lot of familiar faces, and a lot of you guys are, you know, making better and better call outs as we move along. So hopefully it's partially due to this channel and helping you guys kind of bolster your you know, trading skills in the meantime. So great job. Square Bill, looking like it's bouncing off the 20 period moving average, or should I worried about lower prices to come with general market movement? So Square is a solid company, right? It's a solid company. We talked about it in many areas, and you know, these were opportunities in which we could have bought. And you guys can see these trend lines in which we made in April and May, I believe, of really last year, of this year. So here's Square. It's been on an incredible run, and right now, what are we doing? We're basically consolidating sideways as the markets are pushing lower, and that's showing really strength with Square, right? You guys can imagine strength with Square, and you know, at any point we could go over that 91.64 level. It's a question of when this will happen. right now you guys can see that we probably need to consolidate maybe one, maybe it's done. It's hard to say, but you guys can imagine that the best entry time, and whether we're going to get that entry time is hard to determine, and probably not, maybe not, but is near the 50 period moving average, right? That's where we want to find our entry. But right now, you know, this looks like it's going to go higher. That's all I have to say. So Square is looking solid. Yeah, and guys, like I said, if you're playing short term, you might be losing money. If you're playing long term, like you're holding this months to years, this is really no problem. At least no problem in the chart right now. So, all right, guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, we're looking at some real. I am keeping a very close eye on where the market direction is going to be heading this week. This week will be a very big signal, in my opinion, of which direction we're going to go. Of course, we have those trade deals that's going to fluctuate the markets one way or another. But you know, we got Canada on the hook. We got China and its tariffs, of course. So we'll take a look in the near future. In the meantime, once again, I want to thank everyone for watching these videos. Please hit the like button if you enjoy these videos, and I will see you guys tomorrow, Monday, for another Stock Talk. Until then, I'll see you guys later.